attack. Seek shelter on water.
If you were expecting a lot more of that, then you will be bitterly disappointed by this movie. If you were expecting answers as to who and what the aliens are, then you will be bitterly disappointed by this movie. If you were expecting to get answers on why they invaded Earth and what their end goals are, then you will be bitterly disappointed by this movie. If you were expecting to figure out any new details about the Quiet Place world, then you will be bitterly disappointed by this movie. This is the third movie in the Quiet Place universe. It was named A Quiet Place Day 1. That naming, together with the trailers for this movie, set up expectations in a certain way. We were expecting to learn more details about the alien invasion, and hopefully the aliens themselves. That was not the movie we got though. What we got was what you can refer to as a bottle episode in a TV series, where that episode can provide some more or deeper insights into characters or the world of that series without advancing the main plot directly. Remember episode 3 from the Last of Us series that told Bill and Frank's story as a standalone episode within the series?
So help me, I will run through one of your tripwires.
I can't.
Same deal with Day 1. It's a sad and beautiful story. It's Sam's story. More specifically, it's Sam's final great pizza run story. We meet Sam. She's terminally ill and on meds to help her with her constant pain. She's living in a hospice for dying patients. The head nurse takes a few of them to go see a puppet show in the city. Sam only agrees to go with them if they will get pizza in the city.
I'll go if we get pizza.
Okay, well then yeah, we'll get pizza on the way back.
In the city.
In the city.
The puppet show turns out to be a marionette show. Oh hey look! It's the people from the other movie! Yay for random cameos!
I have to get back to my family.
After the marionette show, all hell breaks loose when the alien invasion starts. It's utter pandemonium and concrete dust everywhere. Sam's knocked out from an exploding ambulance and wakes up in a theater full of people. They already know to keep quiet and avoid the aliens. She's reunited with Frodo, her cat, and her friend. She tells a friend that she wants to go to Harlem to get pizza. He tells her not to. After her friend dies, she decides to set off for the pizza place. What has she got to lose anyway? It's not like she's gonna live that much longer. This fundamentally becomes her final mission. On her way there, more mayhem happens, a lot of people die. And she meets Eric, who randomly popped up. He's definitely not taking things as well as Sam and decides to follow along with her. He's sort of like a lost puppy. She reluctantly takes him along and they form a close bond through the time they spend together. Eric learns that Sam is dying and she shares with him that she's on a mission to get pizza.
I'm going to get pizza.
Okay.
We later learn that this is because of one of her happiest memories of her and her dad. Eric asks if he can go with her.
He's gonna come and get pizza with you.
Initially, Sam has to look after Eric as he's clueless and scared, but as she gets weaker, Eric's determination to help her with her pizza journey grows. He helps to keep her safe along this journey, sort of like a brother looking after his sister. After Sam drops a book, Eric decides that they need to take some public transport. They get wet instead. After that, she's at her weakest. She's cold, she's wet, and she's in a lot of pain. So Eric goes to get maids to help her with her pain. They both know that she's not going to last much longer. Eric is determined to make this time as memorable as possible for her. He has to save the cat on the way back, and this is probably the only bit of new information we get about the aliens. Every now and then we do see them to remind us that they're still in the movie. They eventually make it to the pizza place, but it's destroyed. She's absolutely gutted, but Eric has hope for both of them now. He takes her to a nearby jazz club, the same one she used to visit with her dad, and lets her rest there for a bit. He goes scouting and finds another pizza place. They have pizza! She finally gets to enjoy her pizza, and she doesn't have to do it alone after all. Eric then thrills her with some cheap magic tricks. The crowd loves it. She knows she doesn't have a lot of time left. She decides that she's going to give Eric a chance to keep living by sacrificing herself. It's a striking moment, and in the process the aliens first chase after her, and then through a bit of contrivance go after Eric. It's a close one, but he makes it safely to the boat. In the process, Sam also manages to slip away. We learn that she had a wonderful final day of her life, after being given hope again, as well as some pizza.
And thank you. Thank you for bringing me home.
She decides to go out on her own terms.
And I'm feeling good.
Day one is a beautifully acted story. Lupita Nyong'o does a stellar job as the terminally ill Sam, who deteriorates as time goes on. You really feel for her. Her visceral reactions to the horrors of what is happening is also very compelling and conveys the brutality of the invasion. Joseph Quinn, as the initially clueless and helpless Eric, is also very solid. It's great to see him go from a lost puppy to finding hope in bringing Sam some joy when it seems there's none of that left. This whole movie is their little story of meeting up and the journey to get some pizza, and the two of them carry it beautifully. It ends up being a very affecting story of hope and the human will to keep going in the midst of sheer mayhem. As beautiful as this bottle story is, though, it's also the main gripe for most people. They simply weren't expecting a tender character-driven story when a completely different movie was advertised. That's like telling us Canadians we're going to get some of that sweet, sweet nectar that is maple syrup, and it ends up just being normal golden syrup. There's nothing wrong with golden syrup, but that's a big no-no, and Canadians will get vexed over shit like that. I honestly think if they called it A Quiet Place 3 or A Quiet Place Story Pizza Day or something to that effect, rather than the Day 1 moniker, it would have helped a lot with tempering expectations. The extended problems with these expectations are that we're now 3 movies in and we still know almost nothing about these aliens. The sort of answers we were expecting from this movie. Like, how did they organize a full-scale invasion and travel across the universe to find Earth? Or was it just, dare I say, blind luck? Was it the blind leading the blind? Did the aliens turn a blind eye? They had to have blind faith in their leader, who probably had blind ambition. Okay, I'll see myself out. How did they enter our atmosphere? We never see any ships. So did they just fall out of the sky? Is their armor that strong? How are they only vulnerable when they hear that screeching, glitching sound? Are they only vulnerable when they hear that sound? Why does that make them vulnerable? In this movie, one of them dies almost instantly after falling into water. Same thing happens in the second movie, and both those aliens freak out while drowning, but in the first movie, one of the aliens hid in the water in the basement for who knows how long without freaking out. We also saw one in the second movie walk without issue in sprinklers raining down water. So what about water is so scary to them? How do they hear so well that a suitcase falls to the side on the floor and some come barreling down from the top of skyscrapers, yet they can't hear people's heartbeats when they're close to them? How do they function? We know they're blind and can hear very well, but how do they know how to traverse the world? They don't seem to have a radar type system. If they had, they would have been able to see us, like bats do. So how do they not constantly run into walls and trees and whatever else gets in their way? What do they eat? They kill humans but don't seem to eat them. Or do they? If they do, is their main source of food getting more scarce? Do they breathe air? How long do they live? How do they breed? How do they communicate? How do they strategize? Do they have any tech? How did they travel across space? While on Earth, are they building anything to help with the invasion? Or are they just really strong and semi-invulnerable and that's it? There just always seems to be one of them, no matter how remote people are. Do those random remote lone aliens just eventually die? Do they go back to some sort of a home base? We see in this movie that one of them seems to communicate with a few others close by, and then they seem to eat some broken open egg looking thing. Is that really all the new info we're going to get on the aliens? How did the people almost immediately know that they needed to keep quiet? Same thing happened in part 2. They knew almost immediately. What are the rules of this world? We're 3 movies in and it's still not clear. Am I just overthinking the hell out of this? That's the lingering questions I still have, as well as the gripes most people have with Day 1. The sheer lack of answers. Anywho, the movie was shot beautifully, and the destroyed New York looked and felt very real. The aliens still look awesome and supremely scary, and the movie had a few great sequences that upped the drama. This movie doesn't really advance the Quiet Place universe in any real way, and after the blunt ending of part 2, that's a real shame. There's definitely still more mileage that can be had out of this franchise, but they'll have to be much more careful with how they market the next installments. Once bitten, twice shy. If you go with the expectation that this is a character-driven story of 2 people just trying to survive while an alien invasion is happening around them, then I think you might enjoy it. I mean, who doesn't like a good pizza story? Anywho, that's me signing off.